Dead meme.
Hey there guys, we're back to play some Horizon XI, and today I would like to talk to you about traveling to dangerous locations. So basically, I'm sure you've probably heard of by now, there are spells called Sneak and Invis. There are items as well, like Prism Powder and Sneak Oils, which will do the same job. But if we look at the top left corner, you can see that I have a Signet buff, but there's no timer on it. So what's very important to make sure that you're not going to run into any real trouble, or at least reduce the chance of running into trouble, I want you to go to the config menu, go to miscellaneous 3, and down here you can turn on your display timers for how long buffs will last. And why does this matter? I'm going to make a few assumptions that you're playing some sort of class that can cast Sneak and Invis, or you're using maybe even the Prism Powder and the Sneak Oils. You want to know how long these spells are going to last. So, as you can see, I got a 5-minute sneak there. That's pretty good. And let's throw on Invis, and you'll probably notice, well, we got really lucky. We have long-lasting Sneak and Invis. The issue with these spells is they're inconsistent. Even the oils and prism powders, at least from my experience from retail, because I haven't used any here. If you know whether or not that's the case, you could throw that in the comments and help us out. These spells could be anywhere from 2 to 7 minutes in duration. So if you drop Sneak on yourself, you get a 2-minute Sneak, but you got a 7-minute Invis, you could potentially run into a problem from enemies that detect sound, not sight, in that scenario. So with these timers on, you know how long until your buffs drop off and you're vulnerable to detection. Now, why are we talking about traveling to dangerous territories? Let's talk to... No, that's the wrong NPC. This guy. I want to run a supply mission. And Valdunia, this is a very dangerous location, at least for the level 75 era. And it's the far north. This is where the Dark Lord is, and the rank 5 quest for everybody. So having this outpost warp before I even attempt to run the quest, that'll be amazing. So I'm going to do that. And there we go. So I've got the supplies and we're going to run out there. So what you're going to kind of laugh at is I'm a red mage, I'm under level 30, and I'm running to a zone filled with horrible monsters. And that's what Sneak and Invis is for. So you'll probably need some sort of job that can do the same. Your level 25 white mage, your level 25 red, level 50 black with red or white subbed, or even a sub job of red or white that are at least level 25. You'll be able to cast Sneak and Invis on yourself. So I'm going to begin the journey out there, and I'm going to show you how you can even turn in the quest. There's a couple of methods. You don't necessarily need to go to the outpost. If you could find a Signet NPC out there, which is what I'm more likely to do. But when we get there, or if anything else happens along the way that you may want to know about, I'll show that to you. Alright, so we're in the first area. I think it's called Rougemont Pass, something close to that. Forgive my horrible pronunciation. But while we're here, I just want to show you the downsides to Sneak and Invis. So, I'm invised, you're unable to talk to people while you're invisible. But if you turn off invisibility, you can talk to people while you're sneaked. So it's something to keep in mind. It's the vulnerability of Sneak and Invis, that if you're invisible, you're unable to interact with the environment. But if you're sneaked, you could typically trade or interact with an object without actually losing Sneak, but you'll have to drop invisibility, which will be important later if you're, say, traveling somewhere in order to drop off supplies like we're doing now. When you drop your invisibility to turn in the quest, you're going to be vulnerable to enemies who detect by sight. So we're on the other side of that door. And as you can see how quickly the levels escalated. Now, goblins detect by sight, so invisibility is going to protect me. And bats, if they are aggressive, I don't believe these ones are, they detect by sound 90% of the time. So something to keep in mind, there is an add-on called iBar. I don't typically use it because I do like to, when I make a video, I want to basically show you what you should expect to see without any great deal of modification. Right, and as you can see, that's already escalated to level 30 enemies. So I'm hoping that this video will help you understand the threat level you're exposing yourself to when you attempt to travel to some of these zones. Like, keep in mind, like, if you die in these areas, you can lose experience. So, like, if you are not comfortable with the risk, I don't recommend taking it. So with that being said, I'm just wanting to let you know that this is risky behavior, and I'll take you through more of the process so you can see the trip that I'm making on the way there. Well, here we are in Budasin Glacier, relatively dangerous place, and as a level 29, we're going to survive it. Now, a few things that we should definitely cover is that if you're going to use the sneak and invis method in which to travel, you must cast sneak first, and then you can cast invis. Because if you cast invis first, you're basically going to break your invisibility when you cast sneak. If you don't like the duration, so you get a 2-minute duration, or you get junk like this, you can hit the plus button twice on the right side, and you can access the buffs and dismiss them. So just like that, I dismissed my sneak. It wasn't super great, but it looks like I'm just going to have to live with 3 minutes and a 2-minute invis. So as you can see, these buff durations can be really awful. So it's very risky to do this run, but with enough practice and with enough caution, most people can pull this sort of thing off. So just as a point of an opinion of mine, I like to pretty much rest more often. I'd rather reduce the risk. So, like, for example, I'm just getting back to full MP. Like, you'll never know what's going to happen out there. Like, you may encounter like something like an elemental which aggroes on magic, and there's no real good place to reapply your sneak and invis, or maybe you've just had a lot of really bad buffs and you're constantly canceling them, but you're not getting enough to make the trip, and then you're trapped in a very dangerous place with no options. So I think stopping to rest, rebuilding your MP in order to make the trip, it's definitely the better route to take. It's the one I would recommend, especially since you're doing something as dangerous as running by level 35 mobs while you're level 29. And let's see this one. He's level 42. So there are some enemies out there that can see through sneak and invis, like particularly notorious mobs, which you'll encounter during the Magicite quest, but that's outside of what we're doing here. The likelihood of you encountering a true sight mob is very, very low, but if you encounter something with a funny name that's named differently than all the other things, maybe just give it a wide berth. Don't take the risk. Other types of aggro is blood aggro. So if you are wounded and you attempt to pass this guy, even with sneak and invis on, at least from what I remember, they will aggro. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Keep your HP, at least in the not wounded status. Like, don't fall to a yellow level. Well, congratulations to Avangardo, I think is how you would say that. He is the first player to reach level 75 as a paladin, but also being hardcore. So just in case you're not aware, hardcore players, if they die, they lose their hardcore status, so you don't get your character deleted or anything. But I just thought that was really cool to have that happen while I'm in the middle of producing a video, and I thought I'd give that guy a shout out. So what's really interesting about Zarkabard, which is where we are here, this was the endgame zone before Rise of the Zilrat. And you can walk by these guys with just sneak. So undead typically aggro sound. So while we're here, and I'm just going to go look for the outpost NPC, you might ask yourself, why would you travel to a place like this when you're such a low level? Like, what's the purpose? Well, there's a few reasons why you may decide to do such a thing. There's various advanced jobs that are unlocked by visiting dangerous zones. Like, the Beastmaster is unlocked in Quiffram Island, but to get to the area where you would get the quest item, it's not very easy, and without sneak and invis, the likelihood of you getting by the undead and the kraken that's typically there is pretty low unless you're actually high enough to kill it. But you can unlock the job at 30, and you may not want to wait. Another good example is visiting Sea Serpent Grotto, where you unlock Samurai and get ninja spells. There's an elemental. Be very weary about casting any magic anywhere near these things. They will aggro from a relatively large distance, and elementals are notoriously tough, like big HP pools, very damaging. They're usually a higher level than everything else in the zone. So I am being slightly risky by not running around with invisibility on, but I only really have to worry about the giant bats. Undead primarily only detect by sound. And we've made it. And since I've got sneak on without invis, I can talk to this guy and turn in my supplies. So that's great. Now I can teleport here via the NPCs, the warping NPCs like the one in Juneau and your home city and so on. But while we're here, we may want to push our luck. There is a teleport crystal that we can get here, teleport Vazel. And, you know, we've come a long way. We might as well get it. And here we are. Using sneak and invis, we've traveled to a very dangerous zone. We've managed to accomplish getting the outpost warp, which is, this is a tough one to get. And I also picked up the teleport crystal while I was here. So just to quickly summarize everything we kind of did here, we turned on the timers in the configuration menu under miscellaneous 3 in order to turn on your duration so you can see how long your buffs are going to last. You also want to have a class capable of casting sneak and invis. So red mage or white mage level 25, it can be a sub job as well. The sneak and invis durations feel random. They're not super consistent. So the higher your enhancing magic is, the better it's going to be. So you just need to keep that in mind. Watch those buff timers while you're traveling in dangerous places. Understand what aggro's what. You can save some mana. I recommend an overabundance of caution. Just let it go. Well, congratulations to Jessica for being the first hardcore player to reach white mage. So they're probably in the same party. That's right. But to get back on track, understand what aggro's what, elements aggro, magic casting. Keep in mind that if you encounter a notorious monster or a named mob and you don't know anything about it, give it a wide berth. It may be a true sight mob. They're not super common in the 75 era, but they do exist. And as well, you know, have fun. You know, you can go to a lot of great places like this. You can do the Samurai unlock at level 30, if you can get some help killing the monsters, of course. You can go to the Sea Serpent Grotto and unlock a whole bunch of ninja magic, you know? Like, it's definitely helpful, but, you know, keep in mind, it is a big risk. But thanks for showing up, and hopefully this was helpful. If you liked the video, you can leave a like or a sub. You can leave some information that I potentially left out. That'd be great as well. And just to throw out there, I'm going to be starting a Discord relatively soon. It's mostly going to be focused on trying to find like-minded gamers that like cooperative games and building games, anything you've seen on my channel. Typically, that's just about the games. Like, the politics of the real world, there's no room for that there, for the most part. But thanks for showing up. See you all again real soon.